So this next piece is actually a wonderful little process for so many things. It's called the visual swish. And this actually may be in the NLP book, the Neuro-Linguistic Programming book that I recommended. It may not be. Also, this is my own particular version of it. So at the bottom of this web page, there's a document that you can download that's sort of a script. You can take yourself through it. And let me explain why this is so powerful, by the way. There are many processes, and they all work at a certain level of experience. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, first of all change happens at a certain level, and really these levels are occurring all the time, and they're holistically arranged. So, for instance, if we wanted to produce change, we wanted to change something, we could simply change our environment, right? We could move someplace and not be around those people, or it's the classic, or the used to be the classic example, is somebody who's a drug addict. They move away, they cut all their contacts, they change their environment, or they get put into another environment. Let's say they get put into a rehab center or something like that. Except when they leave, they go back to their own behavior. But there's an environment happening all the time, and there's behaviors and skills and capabilities, and then beliefs, and then identity, and then finally spirit. And the reason this is important, so we talked about environment, you could also change your behavior, and if you change your behavior, that will have an impact on your environment. But if you change your environment, as we just talked about, it doesn't really alter your behavior, at least not for good, not permanently. And so on. These are holistically arranged, environment being the most fundamental but least significant, and spirit being the least fundamental but the most significant. Each one transcends and includes the former. In fact, if I really wanted to do you a favor, I would have actually typed these in the reverse order for you and had environment at the bottom as literally the ground we're on, but spirit is the highest. As it is, I've decided to go with a deeper metaphor here. So environment would be the most superficial, spirit would be the deepest. The reason this is important is that every process or every change taps at a certain level of experience and trickles down. Now, these are called neurological levels, and I believe this was originally developed by Robert Dilts, Dilts, who's just a incredible genius, and modeled a bunch of stuff out. But so if we have a spiritual transformation, that'll change someone's identity, which will change someone's beliefs, which will allow them to acquire different skills more easily, which will definitely alter their behavior, which will have an impact on their environment. However, if we just have a bunch of skill acquisition, it doesn't really go the other way. See, if we have a bunch of skill acquisition, you learn this thing, you learn that thing, it's going to be quite an uphill battle to change your beliefs about yourself. They'll eventually change, but it'll be a long haul. It'll be, a hard slog. It'll be an uphill battle, at least. And if we just change, though, your beliefs, then it will trickle down to the skills. You'll acquire them more easily. It'll change your environment, and it'll have an impact on your behavior. So the higher we go, or the deeper we go, highest or deepest being spirit, then the more effective a process is for changing your whole self. At the same time, processes are designed for a specific level of these neurological levels. And so the one we're about to do is at the level of identity, pretty high up or pretty deep. It's also incredibly easy, very simple. It also brings to bear the principle that we're not relating to reality, we're responding to our internal representations of reality. And so it is with our self. We're relating to our internal self-concept, not who we actually are. Now, we could also get ourselves in quite a twist by saying, what's the difference, who we are and what we think we are. Yes, exactly. So what we're going to do next is a very simple process. I used to do this on myself daily. I recommend that you take it on daily for a while. And again, there's a sheet that you can download at the bottom of this page, and I encourage you to do it at least before every single presentation. But really, anytime you need to perform at a high level. So whether it's having a difficult conversation, or whether it's giving an introduction, giving a talk, or whether it's simply wanting to, have a better day, do it when you first wake up, being more like your ideal self in your own internal representations. So with that, let's actually go ahead and get to the process. Let's go ahead and get to the visual switch. So again, for this one, I would actually recommend that you stand. And what I would do is I would recommend that you stand, about arm's length or a little bit further than that, away from a blank white space. It could be a white wall, it could be a white board. But make sure that there's nothing really in the way. You want sort of a clean screen for you to project your mind's eye onto. So go ahead and create those conditions. I'm going to go ahead and give you a good pause here, a good 30-second pause, but I want you to go ahead and pause the recording and find a place where you have just a white space in front of you. Make it easier on yourself. So a blank white wall or a white board, something of that nature. It could be, a white window shade, but make sure that you're in front of that and standing at least arm's length away from it, perhaps a little bit further. And I'll go ahead and pause the recording now and do that, and then we'll begin again. Okay, good. Good. So first, go ahead and create an image of yourself on that wall. Just create an image like it's on a television screen or a flat panel right in front of you on that white wall. Of you, sort of the old you, the you that was nervous or, wasn't doing very well. Perhaps the you that you were imagining previously if you were uncomfortable with presenting. But it could be in any situation where you're not sure if you're going to handle it well, or you're not feeling like you're at your best. You're not your ideal self. So go ahead and create that you, that old you, the you that is not as resourceful as you would like. And just notice the color. Is it color black and white? Is it in motion, or is it still like a snapshot? Is there a sound to it? Is there a soundtrack or not? How's the color? Is it washed out? If it is color, is it washed out? Is it pale? Or is it bright and vibrant? How's the brightness? High, low, normal. Contrast, high, low, normal. Focus, sharp, fuzzy, or dim. Is there a border around it, or does it fade out at the edges? And just notice all the notable qualities of that image. Bring up that you that's unresourceful or stuck or what have you. And go ahead and memorize that. And then we're going to go to snow, sort of like, for those of you who remember when there used to be a channel 3 that just went to just static on the screen, we're going to do that to sort of cleanse your palate. Perfect. And now we're going to construct the new you, the you that's fully resourceful. Let's go ahead and create that image on the wall in front of you. And is that in color or black and white? And is it bright or dim or normal? Is there a soundtrack to that image? Is it still like a snapshot, or is it motion, or is it like stop motion, jerky? Is it two-dimensional, three-dimensional? Notice all the qualities of that image. And add any additional resources in there that you need, that you want. Alter the image, again, the qualities of the image, not the content necessarily, but the qualities of the image. Maybe making it brighter will have it feel more confident. Or maybe it's adding a soundtrack, some song that makes you feel confident or resourceful, Or maybe it's having you feel more at ease, more relaxed. Maybe that's about changing the brightness or about the contrast. Remember, we want to change the characters or qualities to the image. The content may change as well, but that's less important in terms of how your mind works for this. So go ahead and finish that, allowing your unconscious mind now to make whatever adjustments it needs to complete that. And then memorize that image. And then again, we're going to wipe it clean with snow. Okay. And here's the meat of the process. Now that we have these two images, we're actually going to work with both of them. So first, what you're going to do, and I'll walk you through a few, and then I'm going to urge you to do them on your own, and I'll explain exactly how to do that. But first, go ahead and bring up the old you, that old you that's unresourceful. And then notice in the lower left-hand corner, it's almost like a one little pixel. And that is going to be a picture-in-picture that expands and completely covers the old you with the new you. So the new you, just a kernel of it down below, and expanding and covering the old you with the new you. So all you see now is the new you, the resourceful you. And notice how good that feels. And then go to snow. And bring up the old you. And then the new you, expanding, covering the old you with the new you. And then snow. And then again the old you. And the new you, expanding, covering the old you with the new resourceful you. Noticing how good that feels. Good. And then snow. And go ahead and repeat that same process that we just did 5 times in your mind rapidly. So I think we did it 3 or 4 times together. You're going to do it 5 additional times on your own. A couple things. First of all, yes, you're imagining the old you, and then you're bringing up the image of the new, more resourceful you, expanding and covering the old you with that image of the new, more resourceful you. And then you're going to do the snow. Now, the snow in between, as corny as it may seem to some of you, is important for those of you who are familiar with some of these phrases. That, it's a break state, it's a pattern interrupt, it's the equivalent of cleansing your palate in between meals. Like with lemon sorbet, say, or when you're eating sushi, it's the reason you have ginger in between courses. So it's so that you actually fully taste what you're tasting now. So it's actually pretty important. Now, you can use a white screen if you want to, like a windshield wiper and, change it all to white. That's fine. I like snow because it's intentionally jarring and interruptive, and it's the most effective at this for the purpose that we use it. But just make sure that you include some way of clearing the whole thing out, and then the old you, and then the new you, and then again. And do that 5 times now in your mind as rapidly as possible. I'll pause the recording now, and you pause the recording now, and do that 5 times in your mind now. Good. Welcome back. I recommend you do this as often as possible. I used to do it daily, and many times a day, many points during the day. And there's something incredibly powerful about changing your self-concept, your internal representations of yourself. Certainly do it before every single presentation. And some people may notice that it's more and more difficult to get back the old you. That one starts to get more and more faded, more and more difficult to construct. That's perfect. And just make sure that you're constantly making the new, more resourceful you even more real, even more solid, even more compelling, brighter, more attractive. And you can add resources if you want to. You can add, we've talked about resources before when we were doing timeline therapy. You can certainly add resources. Let's say you want to add, confidence, or you want to add, ease or flow, or perhaps you want to add in something else. You want to add in, joyfulness or playfulness or humor. Humor and playfulness are always wonderful things to add in. Well, you'll notice that if you add that resource with your mind into that image, that something about the image will change, not just the way you're behaving in the image, but some color or some aspect of it, some quality or characteristic of the image itself. Maybe it'll get brighter. Maybe the music will change. Or maybe it'll actually get bigger. And whatever it is for you is perfect. But just notice that there are certain drivers that will make the most change. And when I say drivers, I mean some specific quality or characteristic about the image. And go ahead and play around with that. Good. And go ahead and sit back down. Let's get back to work. In the next lesson, we'll teach you how to best structure a talk to maximize 3 primary results. Keeping your audience engaged and interested, help your audience retain more of the learning, and maximize your acquisition of prospective clients. And I look forward to that. I trust you do as well. And this will, of course, help you write these evening talks with ease. I'm Jason McClain, your host here, and your guide in the 21st century marketplace. It's an honor and a privilege. I look forward to the next lesson.